Hey, everybody, this is Sheriff Tim Carter, and I'm here today with a special guest of mine. We're taking a different path today. We're going to talk a little bit about community service, and the Shenandoah County Sheriff's Office and myself, we're involved in community service. And I have a special guest with me today. Her name is Nancy Whitlock. Nancy is a personal friend of mine, and many of you may not know, but I was actually the district governor of our Rotary district. Our district is District 7570. And Nancy is the current district governor of Rotary International's District 7570. So, Nancy, it's great to have you on this morning, and thanks for taking a few minutes of your time to talk with us.
Oh, thank you, Tim. It's my pleasure to do this, and it is always a pleasure to talk about Rotary and share our story.
Well, Nancy, I wanted to know if you'll give our listeners just a little bit of background of our district. I was fortunate enough, as I said, to be district governor in 2019, 2020. You're the district governor in 2020, 2021. My home club is here in Woodstock, where your home club is in Waynesboro. I think you live just outside of Waynesboro on the Blue Ridge Parkway. And there's a lot of towns and communities geographically in our district. I don't know if people realize it, but our district runs from basically Winchester on the north end to south of Johnson City, Tennessee. But if you want to talk a little bit about the district before we get started.
Absolutely. Well, we do have a very long, slender district. Like you said, it runs from Winchester down to Johnson City, Greenville, Tennessee. It's about 435 miles. And we have 80 clubs within that district. Some are quite large, over 100, and some are quite small with 10 members or less. And each club accomplishes a lot given its own membership. Every club has its own personality. I think one thing I love about our district is that it really is a beautiful district. We're mostly west of the Blue Ridge Mountains.
Right.
And when you go down through our district, we're along the Shenandoah, James, Roanoke, and Holston River valleys. And so even though I didn't have a chance to travel very much this year, it would have been beautiful.
Well, that was one of the things I have to tell you. I was a little spoiled because I did get to travel. I got to hit all the areas of the district before the pandemic hit us, and unfortunately, you weren't able to. But I know you plan on doing that as things start to loosen up this coming fall. But that brings me to my next question, and it's about the COVID-19 pandemic. I know it was a challenge for the sheriff's office here. It was a challenge for many small businesses and families and employers. How was it challenging for you as you oversaw the operations of a district that's so large? I mean, there's got to be like finances and basic operational matters that you had to oversee. And I know it was difficult, and well, not difficult. I mean, there were times where you couldn't hold meetings, just during the past 12 months. And how did that work for you and your administration this year?
Well, I think you're right, Tim. It really was a challenge, and you know very well that we trained for a number of years to fill this position on behalf of our clubs and district. And so this was certainly something that I was not expecting. Like I said, I was unable to travel and couldn't host in person some of the big events that we had planned on. We just recently held our annual district conference virtually, and that was a new experience. But, a lot of people have said to me, oh, you must be so disappointed this year. And interestingly enough, I'm not. I am just so grateful for the things that I have in my life and for our clubs, because, there have been many others that have truly suffered with COVID. And our problems, really, we put them in perspective.
Right.
Clubs, although it took a little bit of time for them to regroup, they very quickly got on board. I was so pleased that I think COVID really affected us about mid-March, and about a month and a half down the road, 88% of our clubs had figured out how to meet virtually or in some safe way. And I was very proud of that. And, not only did they meet the challenges of how to come together and stay engaged, they came up with new fundraising ideas.
Mm.
And most importantly, they figured out ways to continue to do their service projects.
Wow.
And so it's interesting that the Rotary theme for the year is Rotary opens opportunities, and I think due to this pandemic, of course, yes, we were kind of forced into change, but it has taught us a lot, and I have really been able to see that Rotarians are truly adaptable, flexible, and creative. They really respond well to challenges.
Well, I tell you, Nancy, when there's just a small group of us that have been district governors that are still either in the district or around, and I got to tell you, from my perspective, you were the right person to be in this position because it's one thing to plan out a schedule on where you're going to visit and this and that, but to actually, like you say, get those clubs energized and keep on with the general operations of the district. I can't think of another person that could have done a better job than what you've done this year. So hats off to you,
Well,
Nancy, about that.
I really appreciate that, and I will tell you, I think that I was very lucky that we had the virtual options that
Hmm.
we did. Particularly Zoom.
Right.
I have still been able to make area and club visits.
Mm.
A lot of clubs learn to do fundraising virtually, and I think I just kind of shifted. And, there's a different way to communicate. Thank goodness for the old telephone, email,
Hmm.
like I said, Zoom. Um, I've just been really impressed with what clubs have done. I was talking about clubs that had thought of new ways to raise funds, and I've got to throw this in. The Bristol Morning Club down in the southern part of our district
Right.
that usually hosts an annual 5K run. And that is typically the club's biggest fundraiser. And this year they turned that around to a 5K virtual walking challenge. I won't go through all the details,
Wow.
but the club raised almost $6,000 by the end of December 2020, which I know they usually keep going. And they supported 5 or 6 children's organizations in their area. So, we really were not slowed down. And I kind of glossed over the financial part, but we just simply reallocated funds.
Right.
Things that would have normally cost money to put on. We shifted that to other causes. And
Mhm.
I know a number of clubs that normally meet for a meal, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner. They took those meal funds and donated them
Hmm.
to COVID relief projects in
Mhm.
their communities. So I would like to think we left no stone unturned in terms of how we could help our communities during COVID.
That I was going to ask you. Rotary's motto is service above self. And how do you think the district did in fulfilling this ideal? I know one of the things the district did is you guys got together with the 3 major food banks for hunger relief this year.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about that effort?
Absolutely. Well, in terms of our motto, service above self, I've been very proud of our clubs this year because, like I said, they have continued to make service a priority. And I will tell you a few examples later of how clubs found innovative and safe ways to continue to serve during COVID and address those needs in their communities. But we realized early on And there are certainly others that get credit for this, particularly Mike Quillen,
Hmm.
our Global Grants Chair. We became aware that the Rotary Foundation was accepting applications for a a disaster response grant
Hmm.
that they were focusing specifically on COVID. So our district applied and we were awarded a grant for $25,000. And we wanted the money to go toward hunger relief. And we came to the realization that the way that we could get the most bang for our bucks was to divide it among the three food banks that serve our district. The Blue Ridge Area Food Bank up in our area of the country,
Right.
and Feeding Southwest Virginia down around Lynchburg, a little bit above, a little bit below,
Hmm.
and then Second Harvest of northeastern Tennessee, because that's
Right.
the southern part of our district.
Right.
And when I talk about bang for our buck, um, we could have gone to the store and bought food, but we just did not have the buying power that they did. And so for every dollar that is given to a food bank, they can turn that around into 4 or 5 meals.
Wow.
And so we thought that was a real success. And I've got to take this opportunity to say that, yes, I have worked on our district hunger initiative this year, but you were the one that got that started.
Thanks,
And
Nancy.
we were just really proud to continue that. And it will continue on with the person who follows after me, Tara Ellis, and beyond, because hunger is not something that is going to go away quickly, even when COVID resolves. I think this is still something very important that we're going to need to deal with in our communities.
Right. And I tell you, I appreciate the recognition, Nancy. But we could sit here all day and talk about the people in our district that work on these projects, because there's so many good people in our district and so many hard workers. I tell you, but I appreciate that. Now I know that we'd alluded to it a few minutes ago. The club projects.
Hmm.
Many of our listeners would probably be interested to know what kind of Rotary Club projects are out there that did you want to highlight a few that you know of this year that we can tell
Sure.
people about? Because I don't think people realize they think of things maybe in terms of their own club, and they don't think about, Rotary has this network of clubs and these network of projects. Can you talk a little bit about any of those?
Absolutely. Well, as I mentioned earlier, we have 80 clubs, and I could probably talk for several hours about everything that they've done. But there are a few that come to mind. And first and foremost, for the people up in your area, was the Remote Area Medical Clinic, or RAM, that was held in Harrisonburg this past weekend.
Right.
And of course, that is a once every 1 or 2 year occurrence where they offer medical, dental, vision, preventive screening, health education. And I understand they were even able to do some COVID vaccinations on Sunday. And we had a group of Rotary clubs that teamed up to assist with that. The Rotary clubs of Harrisonburg, Harrisonburg's Rocktown Satellite Club, Harrisonburg, Massanutten, Rockingham County, Bridgewater, and Broadway Timberville all came together to work on this huge event. And they not only provided volunteer hours, they provided funding. And the club funds that they got together were matched by the district. So we gave them an additional $12,000, and all of that went toward the health of the community. And this was a really big deal. I understand that someone who was out in the parking lot a Rotarian who was looking at license plates, folks came from Pennsylvania,
Right.
Tennessee, North Carolina. So I'm just incredibly proud that this group of Rotary clubs participated in this. Another club that jumps to mind because they really were early adapters, and that was the Warren County Rotary Club. They just jumped right on board, sewing masks, continuing to do safe projects like roadside cleanup. One thing I love that they have around their area is something called blessing boxes, and they fill those up with food and personal items that people can just come by and pick up if they need them. And what a wonderful, safe way to continue to offer needed supplies. They have sent cards and letters to nursing home residents, worked on meal delivery, and just so many more things that they have done.
I tell you, Nancy, I tell you, isn't that the neat thing about being district governor? You get to see things
Yes.
and understand and be a part of things that you wouldn't normally get to be a part of. All of these things
Yes.
you're telling me about, just super, super work by these clubs.
Yeah, so very proud of them. And then it's interesting because I knew that the Chatham Rotary Club does a lot to work on food projects. I knew they had a district grant that helped with the expansion of God's Storehouse Food Pantry, but I was watching the evening news one night. I have satellite TV, and so I get all of my news out of Roanoke, and I just practically jumped up when ABC News showed the Chatham Club serving Thanksgiving dinner. That's something that they always do, but they couldn't quite figure out how to do it this year. And they used these huge styrofoam cups. Everybody got a pack of 4. One had turkey, one had dressing, one had mashed potatoes, and the other had green beans. And people were just driving by and picking these up. And I just thought that was so wonderful. And talking about a safe event for hunger, the Lynchburg Morning Club, they were able to have an Area 5, all of their clubs, do a Rise Against Hunger meal packing event. And the Winchester Rotary Club did a project that was called Kids in COVID. And they were Rotarians providing food and supplies to maintain child health during the pandemic. And, shame on me, but I have to throw in my own Rotary Club, the Waynesboro Rotary Club, because we're a very traditional, sometimes a little slow to move club. And I was amazed how quickly we came together. We are very frugal, and we do save our money, and we realized that the money that we had been saving, that this was truly our rainy day. And so we took $30,000 out and put it toward organizations in our community that were feeding the homeless, providing child care for essential workers, mental health services, and more. And we even found a way to safely complete our project at Creative Works Farm, which is a barn-like setting with classrooms that provide community education and camps for youth with special needs. And that took a lot of time. It took longer than anticipated because, again, we had to work with fewer numbers, COVID precautions, but we got it done. And, I could tell you about the other 75 clubs, too. They just have done remarkable things.
That Rotary initiative, I tell you,
Yes.
And you're right. There's so many needs out there. It can be a little bit overwhelming with the hunger and medical and community needs. But I tell people in my club, the Woodstock Rotary Club, I tell them that Rotary doesn't limit you. You limit yourself because there's so many opportunities to participate. I mean, if you want to go to club and you want to participate just in your hometown on a project there in town, you can do that. If you want to go and participate in an adjoining area's club, a community project, because you have family in that area, you can do that. But there are also international projects out there that needs financial support and personal support. Are you aware of what our status on global projects was this year with our district?
I was surprised that even though we were dealing with COVID, we continued
Right.
to provide projects, like you said, around the world. And I knew that we would be talking about this, so I pulled up an old spreadsheet just to refresh my memory, and it went back as far as 2008. And since that time, we have been involved in well over 150 to 160 global grant projects around the world. We are really a productive district. The Salem Club was down in Ecuador doing an educational project. Rocky Mountain Club had a water and sanitation and economic development project in Ghana. The Johnson City Rotary Club built a cistern in Brazil. I particularly like this one because I attended a meeting in another district right next to us, District 7600, that was working on a project in Ghana to provide incubator blankets. I would have never
Oh
thought of
my.
that. So we
Yeah.
contributed to that. My own club, due to the determination of one of our members and her neighbor being an orthopedic surgeon who was going to Malawi, we ended up doing an orthopedic medical equipment and supply project. And that really bloomed beyond our wildest expectations. The Blacksburg Rotary Club and Stewart Rotary Club have both worked with Hope to Walk. Most recently in Guatemala, they
Right.
provide leg prosthetics,
Right.
which I think is just wonderful.
Right.
And down in Bogota, Colombia, they had a large community peace and basic education project, and that was Johnson City Rotary Club, Lexington Sunrise, and Salem. So, I could go on and on. It's been really nice. But I know you were also interested in projects that there is still a need. Well, there are always needs,
Right.
but I think of the really large project that one of our past district governors is on the board of, and it's the Haiti Hand Wash Project, HANWASH.
Right.
And it's an initiative to provide sustainable clean water and sanitation to all citizens of Haiti. And this is certainly something that is not going to happen overnight, but Rotary is teaming up down there with both public and private concerns, and they're going to get this done, and they're going to make it sustainable. I think that's the key word. You don't just show up and dig a well. You make it sustainable so that it continues on, and the local people can take care of it when we're gone. Another project is in the Bahamas.
Mm-hmm.
And for folks who remember Hurricane Dorian, I know that was a little bit ago,
Mm-hmm.
but we have been contributing, and they're still needing money for their Abaco school project.
Mm-hmm.
Schools that were devastated during the hurricane, they're trying to rebuild those. And hopefully, folks have not forgotten about what happened out in Texas with the big freeze. And we've been working with a district out there, and they're still looking for funds on what they call a freeze response grant, which allows individuals without the means to repair the damage to their homes to receive some funding to take care of that. And again, there are so many needs, and I think if someone had a special interest, everything that we have done over the years has either dealt with disease prevention and treatment, or water and sanitation, maternal child health, basic education and literacy,
Right.
community development, peace and conflict, and now we're working on the environment. So, there's a wide range of projects that people could be interested in and offer their time, talent, and treasure.
That's right. Well, I tell you, Nancy, listening to all those success stories, I tell you, it does make you feel good about Rotary. And I mean, these are things you and I know, but I just hope that our listeners understand that there are organizations like Rotary that are out here, and they are changing people's lives, and they are improving people's lives and changing the world, quite frankly. Well, before I leave, is there anything else that you'd like to add, or anything maybe that I've left out today?
Well, we've talked about Rotary as a service
Mm-hmm.
organization, but those in Rotary remind us that it is also a membership organization. And if you have listeners out there that are uh, truly interested in service, we would love to have them as new members. We are always looking for new, dedicated people that want to fulfill Rotary's mission and provide service to others. And I would also say that for those who maybe only know Rotary a little bit, we are not your father's Rotary.
Oh, that's right.
We have really evolved over the years. It's been a big change, and it's been a wonderful change for the good. So, we have not been afraid to change with the times and reflect our communities and everyone who should be involved. And the one thing, too, that I always like to talk about, because so few people know about Rotary's role in polio. We have been working on polio eradication since the first project back in 1979 in the Philippines. And we were a founding member in 1985 of the Global Polio Eradication Initiative. And this is a large worldwide endeavor that includes the CDC, the World Health Organization, UNICEF, and I am incredibly proud that a member of that group, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, came on board because of Rotary, because of what Rotary had done, its organization, its management, its use of funds. We really did everything the right way. And we will never be able to thank the Gates Foundation for the millions of dollars that they have given to this endeavor. And, I know that you know how close we are to eradicating polio. Just 2 countries left,
Right.
Afghanistan and Pakistan.
Right.
And that's 99% of the world that no longer has to worry about polio, a very treatable but not curable disease. So, I always like to throw that out there because it makes me really proud to be a Rotarian when I think what we've done for the eradication of a disease. The
Right.
only other one that's been eradicated was smallpox,
Right.
and we're going to do it with polio. So,
Yeah, and I tell you, a lot of people are too young to remember the devastation of polio
yes,
back in this country. But you're right; it is the cornerstone project for Rotary International, and a lot of work and effort has gone into that and continues to go into eradication of polio.
yes, indeed.
Well, Nancy, again, I want to thank you so much for spending a few minutes with me today. I want to thank you personally for your friendship and your leadership. And District 7570 is a much better district with people like yourself at the helm. Thank you for your commitment. We want to thank everyone that participates in our district and our Rotary clubs throughout this area and through the district for all of their hard work, and let them know that we're here to support them. And again, thanks so much for your time.
Oh, Tim, and I thank you because you were a role model for me. You set the standard, and I was really proud to follow in your footsteps, my friend. And I think that's the meaning of Rotary. It's the fellowship and the group effort. We can do a lot together. So thank you so much for having me today.
Thanks, Nancy. Well, everyone, thank you for joining me today, and don't forget to follow me at Timothy C. Carter on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, along with full podcasts that can be found on my YouTube. Hit that subscribe button and get new show notifications, and please smash that like button.